In this video, we look at the solutions for the exam 2017 November question 2. In this question, we had digital certificates that had the attribute, the certificate holder, the expiry date of the digital certificate, the security code, and the issue number. So these are 4 attributes that were already declared. And there was an incomplete method, reset expiry date, has expired, and also an incomplete toString method. This was already declared for us. These were the attributes. These are the 4 attributes that were already declared. And the first question required to write a constructor that will receive the name, the expiry date, the security code, and the issue number as parameters. So it had to receive as a parameter the certificate holder, the expiry date, security code, and the issue number. So this is the definition. And if you look at the implementation, those parameters that we receive, 1, 2, 3, 4, they are then assigned to our attributes. Remember, the attributes start with the letter F. So that is what the constructor does. It initializes the attributes. If we look at 2.1.2, write code for a method called increase issue number that will increase the current issue number by 1. So if you take the attribute issue number, to increase that by 1, you take its current value plus 1, and that result will then be assigned to the issue number. 2.1.3, write code to complete the method called reset expiry date that will use the system date to reset the expiry date attribute to the digital certificate object. The expiry date must be set to 1 year from the current date, today's date, as it is valid for 1 year only. So we need to take the current date, today's date, and add 1 year to that. In this case, this was already provided. It had some code. So this was the provided code that was given to us. So we have the system date. The system date gets the current date for us. So we get the year because we need to add 1 to the year. So the year is at position 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it starts at position 7. So we need to copy from this system date, start at position 7, and take 4 characters from there. 1, 2, 3, 4. So from position 7, take 4 characters, and that is being stored in a string variable called S here. Once I've got that, the year, I take that year, convert that into a number so that I can perform a calculation. I add 1 to it, and that is then stored in an integer variable called I here of type integer. To put the date back, this is now our attribute, F expiry date. Remember, that's of type string. From the system date, I copy from 1 and I take 6 characters. So from position 1, taking 6 characters will take me up to the slash. After that, I need to put my new year. The new year that I calculated needs to be added to this. So I take I here, the one that I just calculated. That year is converted into a string because I need to concatenate that. I need to join it to the first 6 characters in the string which contains the day and the month with the two slashes. So that is how I add 1 to the current year, and I assign that to the F expiry date attribute. 2.1.4, write code to complete the method called has expired that will use the system date to check whether the expiry date has been reached or not and return a Boolean value. Remember, return means we're writing a function. So we need to now write a function that will determine whether it's returning true or false in terms of whether it has expired or not. Let's just try to get this there. And let's look at the code for has expired. Again, this was code that was already provided. It shows you the current date that it obtains. And you check if the current date is greater than the attribute expiry date. You can compare dates like this, and if the system date is greater than the expiry date, then the Boolean value that we are returning is true. That means it has expired. Has expired, it's true, else it is false. 2.1.5, write code for a method called generate security code to compile a new security code, and that code has to be assigned to the attribute F security code. The new code must contain 10 randomly selected characters from the range 0 to 9 and A to F. Groups grouped in pairs, twos, and separated by colons. The final code will consist of 14 characters, 10 randomly selected characters, and 4 colons. So here's an example. So you randomly generate 2 values, and the range for the values could be 0 to 9, A to F. And then that needs to be done twice to get the first set. Then a colon is required. Then another set, a colon, a third set, colon, a fourth set, colon, then a fifth set. So I need 5 pairs, and each pair should be between 0, 9, A to F. That's the code that I need to generate and return it to the attribute F security code. Let's look at how we write that code. What I've done here is I've created a string variable str, and I've put all the values that I need for this particular code that I need to generate. So in total, I've got starting at 0, which is my first position 1, and then 9, that will be my 10th position. Remember, I started from 0. So that's my 10th position. So A will be 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So F is my 16th position. So I'm going to repeat a certain process 5 times, and I'm going to get pairs. I'm going to get a pair of values. So I'm generating my first position from the numbers 1 to 17. Remember, the number that's going to be generated will be 1 less than this, so it goes up to 16. So I'm going to get a position from 1 to 16 that's randomly generated. I get 1 position stored in position 1, and I get a second position stored in position 2. So let's say, for example, pos 1 generates a random number of 5. So what happens is, I go to my string, I go to this position 5. So position 5 will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It'll be the number 4. So the first character being generated will be 4. That's the first part of my code. Then let's assume that position 2 generates the number 14. 14. So I then go to position 14 in the string, and I get that character at position 14. So this is 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 will be at D. So the second character, that was character 1, the second character I get is a D. So the first pair that was generated was 4D. I then have this accumulator called code, and code accumulates character 1 and character 2, and then it puts a colon after that. So after the first repetition of the for loop, I've got this code 4D, and I've got a colon after that. The loop then executes a second time, and I will then get another code, for example, 8A, and then that puts a colon as well. The third time, I'll add my next two. The fourth time, I'll add my next pair. And then the fifth time, I'll get my last pair, giving me 5 pairs of these codes. But you should note that after the fifth pair, there will be an extra colon that's at the end. Because remember, I generate the 2 characters and then I add a colon after that. So what needs to happen here is after the loop finishes, the last colon should be deleted. So that's the step that's happening here. Delete from code. The length of code, let's assume the code will be 5 pairs, that's 10, and 5 colons, that's 15. So it'll go to position 15, the length of code, and it's going to delete the 1 character at position 15. And the 1 character at position 15 would be, in this case, the colon that was at the end. So there would have been a colon at the end, and that would be the position that's deleted. Then I have my code, which is then assigned to my attribute F security code. So what you need to remember is that each time this code executes, it generates a pair of characters followed by a colon. The second time it gets another pair of characters followed by a colon. Another pair of characters followed by a colon. Another pair of characters followed by a colon. Another pair of characters followed by the colon. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the extra colon that I'm talking about. That's deleted at the end. Once that's deleted, this entire code is then added, is then assigned to this F security attribute. If we then look at 2.1.6, that is a toString. We should now be very familiar with the toString. A toString is just a function. Some of the code was already given for the toString. So that is a function, and this is the format. So here we see the heading. And then to add the different parts, you can see sout is a string variable. And what's happening here is you're accumulating. You're constantly accumulating values to this variable sout. And by putting #13, these are being put new lines. And then at the end, sout is assigned to result because it's a function. Result is what returns the value. That concludes the user-defined unit.